3, 2, 1. Hello! We
Oh.
are finally live after so many technical difficulties. Feel free to use the thing, the stream I sent you to test to see if it works. I sent you.
It works.
to-
I've
it
already
works.
already tried it.
All right,
Yeah.
well, let's blast it out real quick. I'm gonna take 10 seconds. It's just gonna be on the page. So it's just gonna be on dabbing Trump right real quick. So,
Okay.
we can send this out. I'm gonna post it in our politics group.
And tabulous.
Yeah, I'm gonna post it in there, and we will move from there. So, and I are. I tried to tag Point Park and it tried to have Mason do it. So it was just like, oh, Mason, obviously. Wonderful. Okay. So let me go back and check. Got 2 viewers. We're good. I'm gonna give it one more second. Okay. Feel free to send this out to anybody you want, but we should.
I already shared it to the Keck group.
Okay.
Got to be fairly strategic with how I share this.
Absolutely. No.
For the time
it's
being.
Totally fine. Russell, why are we speaking? Wait. Fuck. That's too late. Russell, why are we speaking tonight?
Well, just because some stuff has been going on at our alma mater.
At our
Point
alma
Park
mater,
University.
Point Park University. Yes, some shit has hit the fan.
Yes. So what was it like? This was about a month ago because it was right before Thanksgiving that this all happened. There was supposed to be a production of The Adding Machine, which is a musical.
I've never seen The Adding Machine, just flat out. I've never seen it. But continue. Break down exactly what happened.
Okay, so the rough narrative, the rough series of events was there was a lot of morale issues amongst the cast doing the show. A lot of the students didn't feel comfortable with the material, and so they basically banded together and protested the very show that they were supposed to be performing in. They pushed to get it canceled, essentially.
Okay.
They ended up having a sort of like a town hall type discussion where everybody gets up and shares their truth and all of that fun hippie stuff that theater people love to do. And what came from that was they decided to cancel the show, Adding Machine, and then they basically took sites on future shows this season, namely Parade. So I didn't think that they would actually go through with it. I should have, because once you set this kind of precedent, there really is no stopping it. So now they've got Parade canceled, and instead they're doing Pippin, which, as far as like theater pieces go, is not. It's
complete.
Pretty safe.
It's the most
milk
toast bullshit that you could possibly do as far as theater is concerned. In my
Hello Dolly's a bit more milquetoast.
The Music Man is probably the epitome of milquetoast when it comes to musical theater. But
speaking of which, have you heard about the whole Broadway thing?
Yeah. Well, we can talk about that at a whole nother stream.
First, let's rant about our school.
Yes. So I and Russell both attended Point Park, and I want to make it known that I enjoyed the time I spent at Point Park. I genuinely.
Yes, did I.
Yeah. I genuinely enjoyed the time. I felt like I got a really, really good education. I felt like I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about
The
theater.
faculty there was of a very high quality.
Exactly.
I could not have asked for better teachers.
And
It's we were talking about this, and our whole goal of this is not to bash our old school, being like, it's gone to hell and all that. Like,
yeah.
we're not trying to be cynical about it, but we see a problem that has manifested in other parts of of culture, and we're seeing it start to happen
In a place where
in
we
an
yeah,
industry,
where
yeah, in a place that we hold relatively sacred. Like this place is special to us,
yes, exactly.
and we don't, yeah, and we don't want to see it happening. We especially don't want to see it happen at Point Park, but we also don't want to see it want to see it happening at other colleges, other places of theater education, because I mean, I believe the arts are important.
Oh, at
The arts are really
100%.
important, and we need to. And the reason it's so important is because the arts are often a place to discuss really, really tough issues, really delicate issues.
Mhm. No, no, you are 100% correct. And the fact of the matter is, had you asked me prior to graduating Point Park, I would have never thought this would actually be a thing that applied uh, to a place I went to. But now,
Yeah.
ironically, and I haven't told you about this, but it's happened at both universities that I went to, Washington College and Point Park. They've now had theater shows canceled because of the outrage mob surrounding those shows. And I'll talk about the other one later, but specifically at Point Park, I'm blown away because when I went to Point Park, and I don't remember, I don't know if they did this when you were there, but they like had us sit down and they had us look to our left and look to our right, and they're like, only one of you out of the three will be here by the time you graduate in 4 years. Like,
They didn't do that.
no, see
They
that
didn't do that.
so, and you, when did you graduate? You
I
went for
graduated in 17.
Okay, so I graduated in 14. So not we attended school at the same time for a brief period. Um,
A year, I think.
yeah,
You were
yeah,
a senior when I was a freshman.
yeah, yeah. And I never saw the absurdity of this like cancel culture shit while I was at Point Park. It sounds dumb, but it's almost like after I left, it all happened. Even though I was raging against it while I was in college, I never thought it would come to a place that I actually attended. You know what I mean? I never thought that it would
Yeah,
come to
well,
in my real life.
I think there's a reason for that because I've been watching a lot of like Jonathan Haidt videos because he is really really well in tune. He's really tapped into the whole outrage culture as it pertains to college because he's a college professor and he studies this thing on an empirical level. And so by the time you were graduated, you were what 2013,
Yeah,
2014?
I was
Was that the year you?
2014. I graduated in
Okay,
2014.
yeah, so that was about when the whole cancel culture,
Coocher.
so sort of like uber radical left SJW stuff
Mhm.
um, started really picking up steam. So you were left
Hold on one
right
second.
as it was beginning.
Yeah, no, yeah, sorry. My my mic got unplugged there. But no, but you're 100% right. Like it sounds dumb, but like I can't believe how recent it is. So, I want to break down about some how I saw things happen from my perspective. So, I was an alumni. I You were the first person actually to tell me that Point Park had canceled the adding machine. And I knew
I was stunned. I
yeah, no,
never
so
would have
same.
thought that this kind of thing would happen.
Absolutely. And I remember being like, bull fucking shit that this has happened. Um, and so I decided to do some research, and me and my friend Jason, we actually filmed a video, which I'm in the middle of editing right now, but hopefully I can put it out there. Um, but I learned so freaking much from the from this whole thing, and I'm blown away that the Point Park faculty even dealt with this bullshit. Like, truthfully, I can't imagine what it was that like let them go, oh, this is acceptable. You know what I mean? Like, what, who?
Honestly, I think they were put in a very difficult position because like it wasn't like the performers were fine. It wasn't like it was the protest itself was coming from the performers themselves. So like it would have been one thing where the performers were fine with it, but a bunch of people outside who found out about the show didn't like it, and started protesting, and then the university caved to outside pressure. They were put in it's a bit different because the pressure was being put from the people that were supposed to perform the show.
Mhm.
So
Which is such a
had they
strange idea
decided
to
not
me.
to cancel it, oh yes, it's very strange. And we'll get into why in a little bit, but I think that, like, tactically speaking, it was a very good move on their part because of who it
Really.
was coming from.
Mhm.
Well, tactically speaking, like if the goal is to get it canceled and to pretty much impose more control over the season, then the way they did it was very, very smart because it came from the performers. Because if they're like, okay, let's say the school went a different came to a different conclusion and says we're still doing the musical, you're going to do it whether you like it or not. Well, then at that point, the students could have just refused to go on,
Yeah, which
which
I
would have
guess
made it
no,
infinitely
it
worse for the
sounds dumb, but
university.
it feels like it. How would I say this? It it feels like they held the school hostage.
Yeah, no, it's exactly that's exactly what happened. Like they held Copa hostage.
Yeah, and
Like there's no
I
other way to
can't.
put it.
I think what generally blew me away is like knowing the faculty and knowing the atmosphere. I never would have thought that they would have dealt with that in that way. I felt like um, I feel like, how would I say this? One second. I feel like they caved in a way that was embarrassing. But I understand from a business perspective, like, what's the can you imagine had they got to opening night and they had 700 some kids, people come to see the show in that new theater, and then the students just refuse to go on? Like, it sounds dumb. Like, I highly doubt that that would have happened, but I doubted that shit like this would have happened. So who knows at this point?
Yeah.
Like, I have no way to judge what was realistic. So I want to pull some stuff up that I have here.
Okay.
So I want to break it down a little bit easier for the people who are listening. So they dislike this show for whatever reason.
They thought that the show was racist,
Racist,
or at least it wasn't it wasn't
anti-racist
negatively
enough. It wasn't.
portraying.
Yeah, it didn't. It
Yeah,
didn't
it
portray,
wasn't negatively portray racism enough.
which is an absurd.
Which,
Yes. So
yeah, yeah,
so I'm pulling some stuff up right now, and hopefully we'll see how it works. But I feel bad for outing students, but fuck them. So I woke up the day after they announced that Point Park announced that they were canceling to this article from the Globe, and I
okay.
woke up to things like this that from students that were like, we've been fighting this since the beginning of the school year. Last night we finally got some change. So proud of my school. Um, for the people in the chat, this is Russell. He's also somebody who went to Point Park with me. He was also in Copa. So there's like so much bullshit that I woke up to that I can't. I'm kind of blown away. The students were posting, and there was shit like, I'm I'm pulling. This is a big one that surprised me, and I'm pulling it up on the screen right now, for people. And I'm not going to out this person because they look like such an idiot. Uh,
They did they give their name in the article?
yeah, well they did, but I'm gonna pull it up in here. So to the students. To the Point Park student body, the cast and production team of the Adding Machine, and the Black Student Union. If I tried, I
Oh
would
Lord.
be unsuccessful in expressing my pride in the work you've done to make my alma mater and my home a safer place for marginalized students and communities in Pittsburgh at large. Jesus fucking Christ. A piece of theater that
Okay.
fails to address its own racist and homophobic notions in a constructive fashion has no place in an educational setting. Are you fucking serious? Are you.
Okay.
Where do you learn those
I
things if
okay.
you don't do it in an instant? Oh my god. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Also, it like maybe I'm missing something, but I have never heard of a single story where someone has been like a minority or someone or someone from like either a student of color or like someone female. I've never heard any example of someone being marginalized because of that.
Either
I've
have
never
I.
heard a single story of that happen. I like the school has always, in my mind, been had a very good reputation. Um, Not even to a fault, but like they've been very, very reasonable with dealing with um, that kind of diversity, and I've never heard any. It's never been an issue for me.
Oh,
Like
of
occasionally,
course
you'll
you
get
didn't
like,
hear any issue. I'm gonna show you a conversation I had with one of the students. Uh, oh my god. In a second, but I'm trying to pull up the article, the specific article about the adding machine that prompted all this, that all the students shared. But um, so this there it is. Okay, let me see if I can get this up in a second. The thing that blew my mind about this whole situation was the sorry. Do me a favor. Keep talking while I mute myself and set this stuff up. So
okay,
keep explaining why they were opposed to the musical, why this was such a surprise to
yeah.
us, and things like that.
Right. So, in one of the articles, there was a scene, and I'm only going on based on what the articles say because I haven't seen the musical. I have yet to find like a bootleg of it anywhere. The best I can find was like a couple of poorly recorded numbers, like solo numbers that were from it, and from what I saw, it was meh. But there was one scene there where there is a character that riffs like all like these racial epithets, and then starts going into um, the Star Spangled Banner, like very clearly trying to associate patriotism and nationalism with racism, and and that's not an uncommon thing. And historically speaking, there has been a bit of overlap between the two. Um, Now, personally, I don't know how helpful that is in today's dialogue, given how quick to accuse people of racism people are. But I mean, no one can say that the show is actively promoting racist ideas. Like, if anything, they're trying to satirize racism, which is something that no one has ever been against ever, except maybe like people who are unironically alt right.
Yes, exactly. All right, so I'm not sure I did this right, and we're gonna struggle with it altogether. However, no, this is not what I wanted. I'm gonna try and show the article that we did in a second, but display capture. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Hopefully, no one outs me. Okay, so this is the Globe article. Can you see this right now on the
Yes.
stream? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. The all right. So it says the future of Copa. Oh, this is the one I met. This is actually another one that came up after the fact. This is from the end of November. So this is the one we thought.
Okay.
Dean of Copa cancels show adding machine. Students gather for emotional town hall setting to voice concerns. And then it goes through this ridiculous, over the top social justice bullshit that happened at our university, in which the conservatory students, or it's the Conservatory of Performing Arts, is known as COPA, when we were going there, and how the students just latched on to complete nonsense around the adding machine. And in my personal opinion, and we've talked about this and we'll go into this later, I'm sure, but they just couldn't act well enough, or they were too lazy to make the show make sense, and
That's
they were so
that's kind of
go ahead.
yeah, that's kind of the conclusion I drew because there was I don't know if I think it was either this article or the original article. One of the students says, "I didn't sign up to put my
No,
emotional
oh, it's
insecurities
in
on
this
display."
article. Let's go through this article a little bit.
Yeah.
Feel free to jump in.
Yes.
So, artistic director of the Dean of Conservatory of Performing Arts, Stephen Brees, who wasn't there when we were there, held a town hall meeting on November 21st for the musical theater students regarding the concerns about the production of the Adding Machine musical. Following Brees's opening remarks, a multitude of students took to the floor to express their feelings, discomfort, and experiences regarding racism, homophobia, and sexism as portrayed in the play. So those are the three that I'm seeing right now: racism, homophobia, sexism. We're gonna move on, but like
Holy Trinity.
just the holy trinity of bad shit according to social justice. And I mean, like, it's a bad according to anybody, but still, the idea that, like, oh my god, if any of these ever are addressed or talked about in any context ever, it's problematic. The discussion was scheduled to take place at the Highmark Theater from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., but ended up lasting till 8:30 p.m. Holy shit, so late.
Typical for actors to go over
Yeah.
their time.
Yeah, they always go over time. The setting of the meeting was also the setting of the show, The Adding Machine the Musical, which was on the set to take place. Oh, fuck that. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. In
The set to take place.
Yeah. In the theater, all the seats were occupied, with some students sitting on the floor around the perimeter of the show space. Oh, fuck, they filled this thing
Standing
up.
room only, but they
Standing
didn't
room
have the,
only. There's so many
they didn't have the
conversations
discipline
around
to
this.
stand though.
I'm going to butcher people's names because I don't care about them. There have been so many conversations around this, Mia Sterbini, a junior acting major, said during the meeting. There have been so many suggestions from students, so many students of color, black students. I like how there's a comma between students of color and black students. Like, they're
Right,
they're
because-
mutually exclusive, and this specifically have been putting their experiences and their trauma on the line to try and
So
teach.
already we have an inflation of value added to
Oh yeah, no, because
students based on skin color.
So
which
this is the reverse of saying that a white student's opinion matters more. Like, this is essentially Jim Crow in reverse. It's like, oh,
Yes.
the whitey said, yeah, it 100% is. Their experiences, their trauma to teach the administration, which should have had this training before, but now I feel we're kind of just reiterating the same things over and over again, and nothing is getting done. Bullshit, because this is
maybe because you're not correct.
yeah, maybe you're reiterating something that's wrong over and over and over again. Like,
Even if you are correct, let's for a moment assume that she is morally correct and has the moral high ground on this.
yes,
That kind of stuff takes time. Like, normally that takes decades. Like, you look historically at how like human rights have progressed.
yes,
Like, it usually up until like the 60s, it would take centuries for human rights to get properly fleshed out.
yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
No,
So
I
this
100% understand what you mean. Sorry, I'm
demand
just changing
for-
stuff around while we're
Sorry.
talking. You continue.
So this whole demand for social change immediately, like you're microwaving popcorn or something, instead of like taking the time to do it properly and making sure that you're not like, I don't know, letting in some, like allowing for some like really bad ideas to come out from what you're doing,
Absolutely.
or just, yeah, because
All right,
you haven't
let's
thought
continue.
it through. They very clearly haven't thought
Yeah,
it through.
no, they have no idea what they're actually doing. All right, let's go back to the article itself. The show Adding Machine a Musical features line. By the way, that's a fucking horrible title for a musical. Like, just they should have just been Adding Machine without the musical, a musical part. That's just my personal preference.
I don't like that. A lot of like
musical.
well-established Broadway shows do that, so I'll let them off for
Another
that.
time. Featured lines in the songs containing racial slurs as well as misogynistic ideas. The director of
I'll
the
come to theater.
yeah, well, yeah, the director of the program, and I feel bad because I emailed this guy, but I still can't pronounce his fucking name. Talala Taylor, like it sounds like something out of fucking Star Trek. Rivas was
Us.
present. Yeah, what I'm sure he's a
Okay.
delightful man. I just can't pronounce his name right now. Was present at the meeting. In the previous interview with the Globe, Rivas described what he was referring to as an action plan for traumatic content, something that the students at the meeting claimed had not been effective enough. You do not need a action plan for traumatic content, you absolute fucking degenerates. I cannot
No,
believe that we even have
these
to
are.
do this.
I'm sorry, these are adults.
They should be adults.
It'd be one thing
100%.
if it was a high school show, which honestly, based on what I've heard, should not ever be done in a high school ever. But given that this is college, like, sorry, you're an adult. You need to have a thicker skin.
100%. 100%. And like do you uh, in what world, what shows are we going to do? We need to continue with the actual the piece, so I'm going to go back to it. But like, because I could go down a rabbit hole right now, and we need to keep going. But so the play was written during the Bush years and is a statement against the mindlessness of America entertaining an endless war. Rivas said. The
Sounds like
words that
something a social justice warrior
no,
would
yeah,
want
this
to
sounds
do.
exactly like something this would be about.
Sounds right up their alley.
Yeah, 100%. The words that appear in one particular case are interwoven with a patriotic theme, which is meant to be tied to the fervor of patriotism, which was part of the either
Yeah.
you're with us. See, this I hate the whoever wrote this. Get a better copy editor. This doesn't make sense. The, the phrase is you're either with us or against us, but they put it as that part was you're either with the U.S. or against the U.S. This is confusing. Whoever wrote this understand how to do it better. I think it's
Grammar and
really
syntax aside, we
yeah.
know what they mean.
Yeah, well, I know what they mean. It's just bad. I think that really interesting that people call out the racist moment of play when it's actually meant to be an American moment. Thank you. Okay, for years, I have heard that the idea behind social justice and everything is that America is inherently racist. No, that like we are a racist nation built on the backs of blacks and slavery. Am I wrong? Like, isn't that not what they've said?
No, no, that is like the 1619 Project
Yes,
1619. Like that
exactly,
is
exactly. And so if America is built off the backs of those things, and the idea is to tie racism to patriotism, i.e., equating America with racism, how is that not social justice? How is that not like exactly what they want? You know what I mean? Like how am I taking crazy pills here? Like
no. It seems like we would be the kind of people that would want this canceled.
exactly. If I was a like
Like we should be
hardcore
the people like calling for censorship. We should be the people
if I,
being
yeah
like,
if
"This
I
is terrible. This is anti-American. This is bad for the country." Like all of that
this is a
stuff.
per the people who would
We're
want this canceled.
defending it.
Yeah, no, the people who would want this canceled are the Bushites of like the early 2000s who'd be like, this is anti-American. This has nothing to do with racism. Like race has no factor in this whatsoever. How dare they equate racism with patriotism? And like, oh my god, that blows my fucking mind. Um,
Yeah.
You know what's funny is I have the clips and I'm gonna show them in a little bit, but I
Okay.
cannot believe that was the thing that pushed them over the edge was the two scenes in this show that they are opposed to. I'm blown away that was their issue. So let's get back to the article at hand.
Okay.
Rivas went on to say that the words used in the show are similar instances where racist remark sorry. Rivas went on to say that the words used in the show are similar to instances where a racist remark may be made and we don't say anything. This is exactly what we just talked about. The idea that racism is woven into American culture is what this play is about. And they're so anti any form of racism being displayed or like understood that they would rather the show be canceled than fucking, you know, oh my god.
This kind of reminds me of a lecture that I had in history of theater, and
Mm.
it was about you remember the learning about the play Emperor Jones?
I don't, but please,
Okay,
remind me.
it was a Eugene O'Neill play, and it was a play. It was the first time that a black actor was performing on Broadway
Ah, yes, yes,
because
yes, yes.
so before that time, if there was ever a black character on the show, they would just hire a white actor and put blackface on him. Eugene O'Neill was like, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't do that because blackface."
Yeah.
And there was this whole big stink about making like having a black actor on Broadway and the scandal, like having a black actor on Broadway. The scandal, most having people a black actor like it should have been considered like a milestone for progress.
Mm.
But we went over the script and it like the most charitable way to put it was Eugene O'Neill trying to deal with racial themes and sort of like the black struggle as like a history of a race.
Mm-hmm.
And he does it very clumsily.
I
So like there's a whole lot of abstract stuff, like there's like themes of like slave ships and like a black man like sort of going through like the going back in time slowly through like the history of black people,
blacks in America.
and yeah, blacks in America, and like sort of like going back to their roots of Africa and how like a lot. I think there was like a slave ship that was like hinted or something like that on stage, and like a lot of the students, particularly the black students, were very uncomfortable with it, especially with the use of the N word, because they're like, there's never been a time where that word has been an appropriate use of that term. But Eugene O'Neill apparently defended it because he said he worked in Brazil and there were people that were using it just fine. I don't think Eugene O'Neill realized how racist Brazil was and still is compared to us now.
I mean, part of
But
the
like,
Confederacy still lives in Brazil to this day. Just I want to point that out, but that's just another thing.
yeah,
We don't need to dive into all of this.
yeah. Well, the whole point is like Eugene O'Neill was genuinely trying to do something, and based on today's standards, it was a pretty bad attempt. But considering everything else that was being written and considering the social environment
at
that time, it was pretty good.
Profound.
Like there needs to be. The whole point is like even if it is clumsily even if it does it in a clumsy way, like that's not necessarily a bad thing because because they're trying to say something genuinely good, even if they don't do it in the most eloquent way possible, which is like what everything is. That's how comedy is made. That's how movies are made. That's how basic.
Shouldn't this be the conversation? But you can't have those conversations about how it could be better or stuff like that if you're refusing to have the conversations at all. You know what I mean?
There seems to be this expectation that you need to get it perfect the first time. Well, what's perfect? Oh, we can't tell you that.
Oh,
we can't
I guarantee
perfect.
Half these students in 50 years are going to look back at the shit that they protested against or complained about, and they're going to either be fucking ashamed of themselves, which they should be, or they are going to realize that they prohibited the conversations that needed to be had because they are absolute cowards. So let's go back to the article just because I want to keep us moving. So go back. So in response, the students so we talked about racist remark, we don't say anything. In response, the students presented and expressed dissatisfaction with the way the material was presented, and stating that in their opinion it was not clear enough that the show was mocking the characters expressing racist sentiments.
So they picked up on it that they were mocking racists,
but they didn't think the fucking audience was smart enough to figure it out. This is exactly what's wrong with actors. They couldn't. They thought, oh, we know we're mocking them, but how do we know the audience will pick up on it? Because you need to do your fucking job. You absolute, oh my god, troglodytes. How the fuck do you do?
Honestly,
show?
that's kind of sad. Like, do you
not believe in yourself?
Yeah, do you really have that little
respect for your own
Like,
craft. Like,
yeah, do you really have that little faith in your ability to portray a message?
100%. So, all right, continuing on. Oh my God. Students also concerned the lack of trigger warnings given to students during the audition process, as well as the marketing materials. Trigger warnings are bullshit. They make things worse. There's scientific fucking evidence on this. I am not coming back to this point at all. Anyone who
Oh,
believes...
shit, we did To Kill a Mockingbird when I was there. There were no fucking trigger warnings there.
We did so many. We did a Diary of Anne Frank. We did a Diary of Anne Frank. I was in that fucking show. Their Nazis come out onto the stage, and every time we had a Holocaust survivor in the audience, we gave no trigger warnings. There was no, there was no like, you might see some anti-Semitic content in here, which I'm not surprised the far left wasn't upset about.
Oh shit!
There was no.
No shit. It's the Diary of Anne Frank.
Yeah, we gave nothing. The students came to see the story, and that was all that it was about. But all right, continue on. Several students, including sophomore musical Pablo, I'm not going to pronounce your last name, requested to know who was in charge of selecting the season last year. Brees, who was hired as the dean of COPA over the summer, began his tenure after the season was selected, revealed that the decision was ultimately that of the artistic director at the time of the selection. The previous artistic director was Ronald Allen Lindblom, who left the position in the second semester of 2018-2019 school year. I know Ron Lindblom. The guy is a complete and total, he is just a washover. His entire job, while he was the artistic director of Point Park, was to find a show that the rep, which is the professional theater company, or the conservatory could do, like the student, to find a show and create an atmosphere where the students were so good at the show they could take it to Broadway. That was his whole fucking job. He was looking for shows that would challenge the students and challenge the school so they could get something that was so good someone would come to see it, like fucking Waiting for Guffman, and go, this is so good you need to take it to Broadway. That was his job.
So was he responsible for 21?
Yes, he was responsible for 21. He always... No, 21's a whole nother animal. 21 is probably one of the worst shows.
It wasn't racist. It was just bad.
What were some of the other terrible shows? What was the one with the devil? It was like a video game on... not Umbrella Man, but that was garbage. You didn't see Umbrella Man. Umbrella Man was garbage, Ron.
That was before my time.
Yeah, so, but I know Ron. He's not a racist dude. He didn't choose the show because he was like, gonna sneak some racism into this. Gonna dunk on all the darkies. He didn't fucking do that. He didn't do that. So anyway, I'm going back to the article. That dude also asked why the president of the university, Paul Hennigan, was not present at the meeting. I'll tell you exactly why Paul Hennigan wasn't present at the meeting, because it's not his fucking job to come to your meeting and listen to you whine about how bad you are at acting. It's not his job.
What would have changed?
No, what would have changed?
Had he been there?
You just wanted it. This has everything to do with them wanting power. They wanted him there so they could yell at him and feel good about it, because they know that Ron Lindblom, or they know that Paul Hennigan and the fucking dean who canceled the show, who's an absolute coward as well. If he has any position outside of this until the day he dies, I hope he never gets fired, never gets hired anywhere. Hennigan does jack shit for the university other than get people to pay for the university's programs and other things. He's not a bad person. He's just a goddamn businessman who gets paid to get the money so you can do your fucking shows. Leave him alone. He'll leave you alone. He's not. That's it. Am I crazy here in thinking this, that Paul Hennigan has no impact? No impact. But then they say this fucking line, which blew me away. Brees stated he could not speak to the president's behalf. Some students stated that President Hennigan had explicitly stated his love for the racist fucking show, The Adding Machine, in private conversations. He's just walking around
I'm recalling my extensive conversations with the president of the school. Oh, wait, that never happened, because... has any student ever actually seen President Hennigan except maybe when speaking at commencement?
I don't know. I genuinely
don't even know what the dude looks like. I've never seen him. I've never met him. I've heard his name in passing, maybe a handful of times during my 4 years being there. He was not a part of our life.
It's how would I don't know. Um. Oh my God. Sorry. Uh. I'm going back to. I need to go back to the article because I need to continue. But I know exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say the fact that people think that Paul Hennigan was walking around to students of color and just being like, you know what I fucking love? I fucking love that
Adding machine.
racist play. I love that play with racism in it. I just wanna see that racism on stage. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. Who buys that shit? Going back to the article.
That's a heavy citation needed.
Yeah, exactly. That didn't fucking happen. It's like one of those everybody clap things. In addition to large crowd of students, the entire cast of The Adding Machine the musical were present at the meeting, with several members expressing their own discomfort for having to do the show. According to the COPA handbook, students in the conservatory who are on a scholarship must not only audition for every production, but must accept all roles they are assigned, else they could be removed from the program. Students requesting removal from this requirement. Okay,
Okay.
I
So
want to talk about this specifically because this is one of the most nonsensical things that I don't understand from the student perspective. You are attending. Let me explain myself. I'm going to school. What am I going to school for? What did you go to school for? What was your degree in, Russell?
school theater.
Musical
I
theater,
went
right? I went for acting.
performance.
Yeah, but specifically, you had musical
Performing
theater.
majors.
Yeah, yeah, and I had an acting thing.
Hmm.
Do you know what? I'm gonna sell myself a little short here, but acting is singing and dancing and playing pretend. It's not. I'm not fucking laying bricks. I'm not on like in no way, shape, or form am I going to pretend that it is back-breaking labor. It is something I love to do. It is something I want to do, and I still continue to do. And I'm blown.
Before people bring up a handful of roles where it is physically intensive. Okay, if you're a dancer on the Broadway of Newsies, yes, it's physically intensive.
Yeah,
Most
100%,
roles
100%.
aren't like that.
You know, most roles aren't like that, but at the same
Some roles
time,
are physically demanding.
like yeah, what I'm stating is there is uh there's no scenario at Point Park. There's no scenario for anyone involved in acting where your life is on the line in any measurable way that does not have some fucking safety net. Whether it's with the actors' equity, whether it's a SAG, whether it's the amounts of money, like you are in one of the safest environments on the fucking planet is on stage.
If you're in a rep show, it's being run like an equity production. Like they have like specific time for breaks. They're like, okay, how much time do we have? Okay, now we need to take a break. Like they're very good at that. They make sure that the notes are given at the proper time, that they're not given too quickly, but too soon before a performance. Like they're very good with sticking to equity rules, even though it's technically not an equity show. So they try very hard to make it as professional, as safe, and as realistic a situation as possible that prepares them for the real world.
How many fucking bullets have you caught on stage, Russell?
That's a thick zero there, buddy.
Yeah, that's
That is
exactly.
a zero amount.
Fuck you. I do not pretend in any way, shape, or form that I'm in danger, physical danger at any point, or that my career has made me, I'm gonna go off the deep end and not be able to do anything. I understand emotional labor. Like I understand that you're waking up at 8 o'clock in the morning to go to a movement class and do ridiculous things and go to ballet. I totally get that, and you're
Yes.
putting yourself under strain mentally and physically. But like, get some goddamn perspective. You know what I mean? Like, fuck.
Ah.
All right, I'm diving back into this because I want to keep this going. So they talked about several members expressing their discomfort of the show. According to Copenhagen, this is the thing I want to talk about, which I didn't get to, is I am not going to school to be a doctor or an engineer. I'm going to school because I want to dress up in costumes, read lines, maybe write some lines, dance a little bit, and sing in front of other people. Okay, like I don't feel as if I'm going out there for anything other than my own enjoy. I love the idea of being a storyteller, and I think that it's vastly important for our culture. But in no way, shape, or form am I putting bread on anybody's fucking table. You know what I mean? I'm not a farmer.
Yeah.
I'm not a police officer. I'm not a firefighter. I'm not an astronaut. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an engineer. I'm an actor, and it has its own importance.
Trade is in the abstract.
Exactly.
It's not in the physical. It's very high up on Maslow's hierarchy.
If I was going to fucking school to do what I'm doing, I would be thrilled to have a scholarship. Absolutely thrilled. And I'm not going to school
I
to
was
be
thrilled.
Yeah, I didn't have a scholarship when I went to Point Park. Did you had one?
I did, yes.
Okay. I would be
was quite
thrilled
nice.
to have a scholarship now, especially with student debt and everything after that. I'd be fucking
Yes.
thrilled to have that. And as it stands at this moment, I am like blown away that any student would be opposed to taking free money at the idea that all you had to do was show up 3 days out of a fucking semester to go in and audition in front of people for something you may or may not get to do. And if you get it, you take it and do the job you're going to school to learn how to do. Like, do you know how fucking privileged you have to be to turn around and be like, yeah, but like, I deserve to go to school and not have any prerequisites set on the money that they're giving me. What do you? All right, I want if everyone in Copa,
If you genuinely believe that, don't take the scholarship.
yeah, if you don't, they're giving you money. You have no right to turn around and say to them, "Hey, well, now here, let me set the standards in which I'll accept your money." Fuck you, dude. No, take the money with their prerequisites. It's not like you're like I said, you're not an accountant. You're not going in there and somebody's being like, you have to have a 4.0 the entire 4 years you're at Point Park. The Russell, I'll be the first one to fucking say it. The standard, it's gonna pop back up in a second. We just went down for a moment. I think it was because I wasn't touching. All right. We should continue this conversation another time because I want to go into this, but we need to come back to that. I have to leave relatively soon, but we need to come back to this and we need to dive into this hardcore.
Yeah, we need to. Yes, absolutely.
All right.
We'll
My
find
video
another
about
time.
this subject is going to be out probably within the next week if I can do it. But we can do shit like this all again, especially because me and you talking about arts and stuff like that. Like, we need to go through the rest of this article. We need to go through all the posts and social media stuff.
Yeah.
But we'll come back to this.
Yeah.
Russell, this has been delightful.
Yes. Always a pleasure talking to you, Joe.
Absolutely. Let's do this again. Let's get back into it.
Absolutely.
And then we'll hold people to fucking account. All right.
Yes.
Have a good one.
And to those in PB&D who decided to show up for the live stream, thank you so much.
Thank you, PB&D. You guys are always the best. Have a good one, guys.
You too.
Bye.